2026 quarterbacks are flying off the shelf. And, I had a couple of our Husker Online subscribers message me concerns about this. And Brian Stumpf.
What's the concern?
Just that, are you concerned Nebraska doesn't really have like a 2026 quarterback picked out yet, like who they really want to zone in on or who the lead dog is?
I'm trying to figure out why that would be a concern.
Oh, well, because of what's happened in the last few days. I mean, there's been 10 power programs that have already taken commits from 2026 quarterbacks.
These are players, so people understand. These are players going into their junior season
that have only maybe sophomore film and some that could have freshman film.
Right.
But you're really basing your full quarterback evaluation off of 15-year-olds.
It's really interesting.
And
it's really interesting.
Brian Stumpf, who we've had on this show before from the Elite 11, brought up some great points this week on social media about, this run of 2026 quarterbacks. It's really not doing your due diligence.
It's rushed evaluation, he said. It's rushed evaluation.
You're just not going to be able to fully know. And I think, sure, you would love to have the senior year, but the junior year is so important.
Absolutely. Now, you're the resident expert. Why do these teams, and like you said, 10 power conference teams, why do they feel a need to rush it?
Low-hanging fruit if they can get it. But the thing is, do you feel like those kids are fully bought in? Like, what if like a bigger program then comes their way? They're going to bail.
Well, I know, but what I would say to that would be, you still got to do it. You understand that.
Or if the kid struggles and is not what you think,
well,
then you kind of, ignore them.
Right. This has been a conversation for many years now. Not that this many have offered this early. I've told the story 4 times. Danny Langsdorff in 2016 was headed off on a Friday to watch an 8th grade quarterback in California. So you're really projecting at that point. But you saw Ace Amina. And
he blew up.
And you saw him at the camp. Now, what grade's he in? 9th grade?
Going into 9th.
He was an 8th grader,
but
essentially.
He's going to Bishop Gorman.
I know, but there are cases that you can see the talent that early. There are cases.
Rare, but you're right. I mean, you think about when you were in 8th grade.
Oh, God. Yeah, I couldn't throw the ball 25 yards.
I mean,
I weighed 100 pounds.
My daughter's going in 5th grade. I couldn't even imagine 3 years from now, kids her age getting Nebraska offers.
Getting calls from coaches. Really?
Well, they can't call you.
Okay. Well,
they have to offer you. There's rules. Like you can't just call an 8th grader.
Yeah. I hope that's the rule. That would be.
I mean, I'll say this, like even in my shoes, like I'm not comfortable ever calling someone that young. No. Like I will speak to their coach or their parent.
Guardian.
I'm going to call an 8th grade kid.
No. So that's what you're seeing.
Daniel Kalen was offered really young. People forget that him and Dylan Raiola were offered as freshmen.
Yeah. And that now that you fast forward kind of makes sense, right? They developed. I mean, they developed into guys those coaches probably saw something in the 8th grade that looks like something that they see now from these guys.
And it's got to be tough if you're I'll use like a local guy, Jet Tamala. He's going into his junior year at Millard South. He's done everything right to this point, and doesn't have an offer yet. And so, and he's got tons of D1 talent around him, but he's kind of being held back a little bit. People want to watch him play. But then you see, Brady Quinn, who's an 8th grader, or Ace Amina, who's an 8th grader.
We saw these guys, so we can speak with some authority. Brady Quinn was an example of a young guy that could really throw it. I mean, you saw the touchdown passes he threw in that Friday Night Lights camp indoors. I mean, he can really wing it for a 9th grader. Or not just for a 9th grader, for anybody. Yeah.
So, yeah, I also think if other teams offer a guy, you have to throw your hat in.
That's right. There's just some pressure to do
just to feel a part of it. So we don't know, back to 2026 for Nebraska, what direction they're going. I still think the safest assumption is Dayton Raiola.
Yeah.
If Dayton Raiola goes in to Buford, starts like he's projected to, and I know they brought in some transfer
as a junior.
There's a transfer kid they brought in who's got pedigree too, but I still think Dayton Raiola is the favorite to start there.
See, right now all he has is a Charlotte offer and an Appalachian State offer and a Nebraska offer.
And Mickey Joseph's staff offered him first, and he was re-offered by the Rule staff. So look, I've seen Dayton. He has really, really progressed.
Mm-hmm.
And if he comes out and looks like that this year, I mean, I think it's safe to say he's the guy, especially if Dylan has a good year.
The thing about the Raiolas that's really appealing to me is their intangibles. You've met Dayton. Obviously, we've met Dylan. They're really good kids. They really love football. They have a passion for the sport. So they study it. They understand it. They understand football at a super high level, and they happen to have arm talent. I mean, so that and Dayton is a little different than Dylan because he'll run it a little bit more.
And I think he'll be bigger than Dylan.
Really?
Well,
he's 6'1", 205. That's pretty big right now. You're right. He might be. Although Dylan's a big horse now.
Dylan's 235 probably.
He's 6'3", 235. You think Dylan's
well, two full years of high school still here.
Even if he's comparable in size, that's good size.
The nutrition, I know the Raiolas, I mean, they really follow a strict plan.
Yeah.
I mean, like Dom, he orders all his meat from Piedmontese and gets like high level, healthy cuts of steak.
Well, they're very health conscious.
Yeah. Like I mean, that's one thing, like growing up in Columbus and South Omaha, and like
we ate a lot of beef jerky.
Like you weren't getting your steaks from Piedmontese, like delivered to your house. I mean,
my mom cooked well.
That's where, I mean, I do think in general, like nutrition has advanced so much.
Yeah.
And that's where you see some of these kids, they're really like developing. And
Dylan's a true freshman, and we talk about him like he plays for the
Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly.
But
true freshman.